got one that can see.
Apparently, we had a terrorist plot thwarted last night due to our pre-crime, Palantir type systems, and it was on Halloween. You guys check this out.
But first, breaking tonight, a terror plot to stage a violent attack over the Halloween weekend in Michigan.
A terror plot to stage a violent attack, Be in fear, be fearful, right?
And the plan has an apparent ISIS connection. FBI Director
And there's the ISIS.
Kash Patel says several people have been arrested. Correspondent David Spun starts us off tonight. Good evening, David.
Shannon, good evening. Scary story. Several people are in custody right now in Michigan being charged on this Halloween night, arrested after the FBI thwarted an alleged terrorist attack with an apparent connection to ISIS. The FBI director announcing the arrest early this morning on social media. Now, here's what we know. Suspects were picked up in both Dearborn and Inkster, Michigan. It's unclear who was arrested or how many. Patel in a statement saying the FBI is constantly on watch to keep Americans safe, adding, through swift action and close coordination with our local partners, a potential act of terror was stopped before it could unfold. A statement saying the FBI is constantly on watch to keep Americans safe, adding, through swift action and close coordination with our local partners, a potential act of terror was stopped before it could unfold. The vigilance of this FBI prevented what could have been a tragic attack, and thanks to their dedication, Michigan will have a safe and happy Halloween. Now, our affiliate, Shannon, spotted the FBI in a neighborhood in Dearborn outside Detroit. Dearborn police confirm the Bureau was...
welcome to Minority Report, for real.
They're conducting activity this morning. The local police department adds that there is currently no threat to public safety. The suspects are expected to appear in court as soon as Monday. And of course, Shannon will follow all the latest developments.
Well, David, it seems like there's an update as well in the story about in Alabama, a man arrested in connection with threats to religious figures and some other folks.
That's right. Now, we first reported this during the state charges on Wednesday, but now we're told that Jeremy Wayne Shoemaker is facing federal charges. He's been charged with making interstate communications threat. An FBI agent tells federal court that Shoemaker made a series of menacing calls to rabbis, an imam, and a church in at least 4 states. Communications threat. An FBI agent tells federal court that Shoemaker made a series of menacing calls to rabbis, an imam, and a church.
Yeah, be careful what you say about the chosen people on here, you know what I mean? Because we live in an age of everything. The data mining with all these channels coming back, they're letting everybody say what they want to now.
At least 4 states. Authorities say weapons and ammunition were found at his home, along with names and addresses.
Give me a break. But, yep, pre-crime, Palantir, Big Brother, they're going to keep us safe. But you guys check out this video right here. I think you'll like it. Hope you'll have a good one later on.
Hello folks, and welcome to Film Spectacle and this dystopian timeline we're all living in right now. Autonomous cars with override functions, personalized advertisements, face and iris scanning technology, and a surveillance state keeping a watchful eye on you at all times. The world of Minority Report is officially here. And though we don't have any mutant clairvoyance that we know of predicting murders yet, the concept of pre-crime is alive and well too, because almost as old as the film itself is one of the most secretive and powerful corporations on the planet driving this technology. And just like our protagonist John Anderton discovers, despite it being touted as a necessary and effective way to reduce crime, the reality is that pre-crime comes deeply embedded with hidden systemic flaws, is ultimately designed to surveil and control the masses with little to no accountability or transparency, and will inevitably be used to target anyone who threatens this new techno-authoritarian status quo. So let's get into it. Based on the 1956 novella The Minority Report by Philip K. Dick, this 2002 movie adaptation stars Tom Cruise, Colin Farrell, Samantha Morton, Max von Sydow, Neil McDonough, Lois Smith, Peter Stormare and is directed by the legend himself, Steven Spielberg. Set in the year 2054, it's been 6 years without a single murder in Washington, D.C. thanks to pre-crime. And in this opening sequence, we see exactly how this new policing system works, as pre-crime chief John Anderton takes a prediction from the precogs, and like a maestro conducting an orchestra, he pieces the data from the vision together, then races against the clock and stops a brutal double homicide just in time. So where this process all starts with these precogs and their predictions, pre-crime in the real world works in somewhat reverse, taking massive amounts of collected data to form a prediction. And that's where Palantir comes in. Founded in 2003 by PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel, and then financed by the CIA's venture capital firm In-Q-Tel, Palantir quickly became the military's answer to an abundance of data collected during the ongoing war on terror. And by using something akin to PayPal's fraud recognition software, Palantir provided this new all-powerful God's eye view that could sort through these massive troves of data, which was then used to predict roadside bombings on US soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, to help select and monitor checkpoints throughout the region, and to track down any potential terror threats. But unlike the precogs, who can literally see into the future with near crystal clarity, these types of counter-terrorism algorithms have a much cloudier vision, with critics arguing that there is a potential for 100,000 false positives for every real terrorist that the algorithm finds. Like in one particular instance where an innocent farmer was nearly killed in a targeted airstrike, being mistaken as a terror suspect simply because he was wearing a purple hat that morning. And though the goal was to supposedly prevent terrorism, many of the areas set up with these military checkpoints to monitor for potential terrorists ended up becoming ISIS strongholds by the year 2014, even after years of algorithmic targeting by Palantir and US forces. So unlike Minority Report, where this predictive system works as a perfect deterrent in preventing future crimes, these real-life predictive systems by Palantir and the overall war on terror it aided in ultimately had the opposite effect, creating more terror on this planet than there was before. Nonetheless, Palantir continued to get lucrative contracts from both government and intelligence agencies, began venturing into new commercial partnerships, quickly grew to a worth of over $9 billion, and effectively became a more global, privatized spin-off of the NSA. But soon after saving the day, John, who we learn is a grieving father with a resulting drug habit, witnesses Agatha, the lone female precog, have an echo, or a replay of a murder vision that precrime has already prevented, of a woman named Anne Lively, who has since gone missing. And after bringing up that Agatha's original vision for Anne's murder is also missing to his boss and close friend Lamar Burgess, John then sees Agatha make another prediction, and this time for a premeditated murder of a man named Leo Crow. And the perpetrator is set to be none other than pre-crime chief John Anderton himself. So now labeled a criminal by the state, John has no other choice but to run to try to clear his name. And just as this single prediction turns the system against one of its own, Palantir's secretive software used to fight foreign terror quickly debuted in the US to be used against American citizens for the ultimate goal, the war on domestic terror. Sold to the public during the Great Recession as a new, cost-effective approach to policing, and then partially paid for by grants made possible by President Obama's Smart Policing initiative, pre-crime technology began to expand at an alarming rate throughout the country. One of the first recipients of Smart Policing money being the LAPD in 2009, who then hired Palantir Palantir to develop Operation Laser, a predictive policing software that uses criminal data and crime reports to identify hotspots for gun violence, but with the help of Palantir, has the ability to search for connections through a vast array of disparate data like personal relationships, social media usage, phone and tax records, and even license plate activity, and arranges it all in an aesthetically pleasing, easy-to-use interface. But like the precogs, Palantir's involvement, particularly in the scope of their data collection, was largely kept hidden from the public eye, in not just Los Angeles, but in New York City, where it took leaked documents to confirm the software company's ties to the NYPD, and in the city of New Orleans, whose police department worked with Palantir for 6 whole years before the public and even members of city council knew about it. Organized in backroom deals by Democratic Party operative and paid Palantir consultant James Carville, and then funded by the NOLA for Life charity program, Palantir's software was secretly used by the New Orleans PD to track down potential gang members, which led to RICO charges and several prominent racketeering cases. And similar to what Chicago did with their infamous Heat List and LA's chronic offender list, the software also assisted in creating a list of potential aggressors and victims of violence. And because the company's software needs data to function, within a year of partnering with Palantir, the city of New Orleans gave the company access to millions of searchable public records, court filings, licenses, addresses, phone numbers, and social media data of both criminal and non-criminal residents, all to better help train their crime forecasting software, and all done completely in the dark from the public. So despite the company claiming to preserve our fundamental principles of privacy and civil liberties with their data and software systems, everything about Palantir's business practices that we've seen so far proves beyond any shadow of a doubt otherwise. So with a target on his back as DC's most wanted, John visits Dr. Iris Heinemann and learns that sometimes one of the precogs has an alternate vision of the future from the other two, called a minority report. So he breaks into pre-crime headquarters, now with a fresh set of eyes, and takes Agatha and runs, all building up to the climactic moment where he comes face to face with the man he's supposed to murder. And even though it's all been staged as if Leo Crow is the same man that abducted John's young son Sean years earlier, John decides to not pull the trigger. But in an act of fate, Crow still winds up dead, forcing John and Agatha to flee. Agent Whitwer, with the objective to audit the pre-crime system for any hidden flaws, grows suspicious of the orgy of evidence left behind by John and starts to follow his hunch that something is amiss. And by now in our Palantir story here, hopefully you are doing the same thing. Because beyond the secrecy and alphabet agency connections, there are several other huge red flags behind this data company and their predictive software. Let's start with cost. According to public records, the NYPD paid Palantir $2.5 million over a 5-year period, but through legal proceedings, it was actually revealed that the NYPD had spent 7 times more than originally reported, at a whopping $17.5 million paid to Palantir in that same 5-year period. Then there's the overt racial bias, a common problem with policing in America in general that is only amplified by these algorithms. Like in Los Angeles, where despite half the population being white, the LAPD's chronic offender bulletins were 53% Latino and 31% Black. Then there's the overall efficacy, where over 40% of the people on these chronic offender bulletins ended up never being arrested for a violent crime, despite being singled out by Palantir's laser. And that same report found that in 6 out of the 13 laser zones, violent crime rates were the same as or worse than those for non-violent zones. But perhaps one of the biggest red flags is the stickiness of Palantir's data collection policies, where according to the LAPD, once a name is added to Palantir's database, that person becomes a data point in a massive police surveillance system, and that supposedly the only way to remove one's name from Palantir's logs is through a court order. And finally, because greater surveillance leads to more arrests, the data then reflects this. So these same neighborhoods are labeled hotspots and same people as criminals, which then leads to even more surveillance and arrests, making these data-driven, predictive approaches to crime become a self-fulfilling prophecy of their own, much like the outcome of the never-ending war on terror and how the systemic targeting, surveillance, and treating innocent civilians as terrorists in the Middle East ended up creating even more terrorists, and how John being accused of the premeditated murder of Leo Crow leads him to this exact moment, where Crow still winds up dead even though John decides to spare his life in the end. So after following his hunch, Agent Whitwer develops a theory that a murder did happen under pre-crime of Anne Lively, the same case John had been digging into before being accused of premeditated murder himself, and who is revealed to be Agatha's mother. But more importantly, that Anne's murder was disguised as an echo within the system. But unfortunately for Whitwer, he happens to tell his theory to the absolute worst person in the world to tell, leading to his death. And unfortunately for John, the police track him and Agatha down at his ex-wife Laura's house, where he is apprehended and Agatha is returned to the precog chamber. And like we see John thrown into prison and given absolutely no due process here, modern Americans have also lost our due process rights, thanks once again to President Obama when he signed the National Defense Authorization Act in 2011 that contained an indefinite detention provision, even citing how this could potentially be abused going forward. And here's where we need to address Palantir's long-standing partnership with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. Originally contracted in 2011 through Homeland Security, ICE began using two systems based on Palantir's proprietary predictive software Gotham, the Investigative Case Management System, or ICM, and Falcon, that despite Palantir's claims that it doesn't assist ICE's enforcement and removal operations, both of these systems have been used to conduct raids, deportations, and family separations. And this doesn't just impact illegal immigrants, but U.S. citizens as well. A report done by the U.S. Government Accountability Office in 2021 found that ICE's procedures for investigating citizenship are inconsistent, and that while ICE policy requires officers to document citizenship investigations in ICE data systems, it does not require officers to update the citizenship field after identifying evidence that an individual may be a U.S. citizen. As a result, ICE does not know the extent to which its officers are taking enforcement actions against individuals who could be U.S. citizens. So though available data from this report shows that ICE arrested only 674, detained 121, and removed 70 potential U.S. citizens from 2015 to 2020, ICE data obtained through a Freedom of Information request showed that more than 3,000 U.S. citizens were arrested under a transnational gang program within ICE in the fiscal year of 2018 alone. So that nice little hint that the Obama administration made that the NDAA could be abused in the future was more of an ominous premonition of abuses to come, leading us to where we are today, where college students with visas are being detained for their criticism of Israel, and American citizens are being actively deported to a prison in El Salvador for accusations of being in a violent gang despite no criminal record and no trial, all being done by ICE agents using Palantir's software, and the current Trump administration following in his Democratic predecessor's footsteps, but wearing Republican red and echoing the same fighting terrorism rhetoric that helped helped launch us into the war on terror over 20 years ago. But in the end of Minority Report, we learned that John's closest friend, confidant, and pre-crime mentor, Lamar Burgess, is the one who murdered Ann Lively in order to keep Agatha in the pre-crime system intact. And because John became a threat to the system too by discovering Ann's disappearance, Burgess orchestrated the entire accusation and his arrest, unveiling the deepest, darkest flaw of the entire pre-crime system, and that's who actually controls it. And behind Palantir, our surveillance state, and every single politician in DC is the weight of the Zionist state of Israel and all of Western Empire, with motivations to preserve this system and to target anyone who is considered to be or labeled a threat. And just as Palantir's technology was used to kill innocent civilians in the Middle East for the war on terror, the state of Israel has been using software and algorithms provided by Palantir to commit a literal genocide over the last 18 months, wiping out entire city blocks and family bloodlines using the same exact excuse that it's all to fight terrorists. Because after the events of October 7th, 2023, Israel was given the ultimate green light by the Biden administration, and within a few months of this new genocidal campaign, Palantir and Israel entered a strategic partnership for war-related missions, with the data company providing more products to Israel than ever before, including their newly released artificial intelligence platform, which had just been tested out in the Ukraine-Russia proxy war to help the NATO-backed Ukrainian army analyze and select enemy targets and to help propose battle plans. And armed with an arsenal of weapons provided by the United States under Biden and then Trump, and Palantir's AI systems at its disposal, Israel has now targeted and killed over 200 journalists, which is more that have been killed than in all wars combined, over 400 humanitarian aid workers, even in clearly marked aid vehicles, and has directly killed more than 52,000 innocent civilians, the majority of these being women, children, and the elderly. And even these numbers are considered to be very low estimates, because there are still thousands more Palestinians missing and presumed to be dead, still buried under the rubble. Critical infrastructure has also been systematically targeted and destroyed, leaving most of Gaza now without water. Hospitals, places of worship, and refugee camps have all been repeatedly bombed. Yet CEO Alex Karp says he's proud to be supporting Israel in every way they can, and continues to stand by Palantir's products, claiming that this technology is mostly being used to kill terrorists. And when Peter Thiel was asked about Israel using Palantir's software systems to make AI-generated kill lists, he very cavalierly said that he defers to Israel with these things. So now with the very pro-Israel and Thiel-backed Trump administration in power again, and a literal Peter Thiel protege as our new vice president, Palantir's path to world domination through data, Israel's plan for a greater Israel, and the United States' bipartisan long-term goal for the broader war on domestic terror are all getting closer and closer by the day. And since going public in September of 2020, the company is now worth over $300 billion, is considered to be the AI arms dealer of the 21st century, and I haven't even touched upon Palantir's commercial offerings in this video. This is truly just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh. You see, I take these glasses off, she looks like a regular person, doesn't she, huh? Put them back on, formaldehyde face, that's what we got.
That's enough out of you. You get out or I call the cops.
Call the cops? You know what you need? You need a Brazilian plastic surgeon.
I've got one that can see.
church. You may be at work. You may be asleep. God grant that you will be ready when he makes his personal appearance. My God, what if his appearance occurs on a Sunday morning? My prophetic word to you this morning is get ready, get ready.